Today we're checking out the second most popular planeswalker in Oathbreaker, Saheeli Sublime Artificer. For one blue-red hybrid, she starts at 5 loyalty. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. -2, target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control until end of turn, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Obviously, this deck goes hard on artifacts, but sometimes it's also built in a spellslinger type of way, with lots of instants and sorceries, which also trigger Saheeli. Now let's talk signature spells. Thoughtcast is 5 mana with affinity for artifacts. You can get it down to just 1 mana. Draw 2 cards. This is by far the #1 choice with Saheeli. A whopping 50% of Saheeli Sublime Artificer decks are pairing it with Thoughtcast. And it's easy to see why. You're going to be able to get this pretty low in mana cost, and as an added bonus, you can actually affinity for artifacts away the commander tax the second time you cast it. I don't know how often that would happen, but it's a cool thing you can do. The second most popular signature spell with her is Battle Hymn, an instant for 2 mana. Add red to your mana pool for each creature you control. Looking through Battle Hymn deck lists, I expect to find big mana payoff cards, but that was not the case. Having never seen the deck in action, I can't tell exactly what we're doing here. Maybe we're just recasting Battle Hymn over and over because every time you cast it, you get another 1/1, which is going to add to the amount of mana it's going to make. So it kind of spirals bigger and bigger and bigger. That's my best guess anyway. Number 3 most popular is Divergent Transformations for 7 mana, but it has Undaunted, so it costs 1 less to cast for each opponent. Exile 2 target creatures. For each of those creatures, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put those cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Back when I ran Saheeli, this is what I used for signature spell. I just love these types of decks. Basically, you only have a few really huge creatures in your deck. So when you cast this, you can only get one of those awesome creatures you never whiff. But my favorite thing about this strategy is that we can use Saheeli's -2 to turn another one of our 1/1 tokens into the thing that we just searched for and attack with it right away. If that's our plan, then we need to build the deck with non-legendary creatures, obviously, otherwise it won't work. There's a couple other options that do similar things: Indomitable Creativity, Polymorph, and Transmogrify. They're also on the top list of signature spells for this, but I really prefer Divergent Transformation. 4th most popular is Jessica's Will. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. This is just a generically good option. It's a great way to fuel her static ability. You use the mana and the card advantage to cast more non-creature spells, making more tokens. I like it. Paradoxal Outcome could build a really cool deck too. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hand. Draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. This type of build runs as many low mana rocks as possible. Remember, we don't have Soul Ring or Crypt, but we do have some other 0 mana options, as well as a whole bunch of 2 mana ones, plus cards that reduce the cost of artifacts. So we cast this, make a 1/1 off of Saheeli, bounce all of our rocks back to our hand, recast them all, re-triggering Saheeli over and over again. And if we have enough mana, we can tap them all to recast the signature spell again. It's a good way to get a lot of tokens. Or how about a signature spell that searches up an artifact? Fabricate shows up as the number 9th most popular, or Reality Heist, which kind of has affinity for artifacts, but I think I prefer Transmute Artifact or Whir of Invention. They can both get an artifact straight out onto the battlefield. If we wanted our signature spell to trigger Saheeli multiple times, we do have a few options for that too. Collected Conjuring for 4, exile the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast up to 2 sorcery cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So assuming we get 2 hits off of this, we're going to get 3 cast triggers, making 3 1/1s. Likewise, Finale of Promise can also cast up to 3 spells, including itself. So can Spelltwine. Surge to Victory costs 6. Exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Creatures you control get +X+O until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player this turn, copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Okay, so this is probably not a very competitive option compared to some of the other ones on this list, but for a casual fun build, this is my top favorite for sure. It's both an enabler and a finisher. Hopefully you can take out at least one opponent with your big power creatures, and any ones that deal damage to them, recast that spell you exiled, which triggers Saheeli again. You make a bunch more tokens. And if we're talking casual, maybe even Mizzix's Mastery for 4 mana, but it has an overload for 8. Exile target card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it, and you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. If you've got a whole graveyard full of instants and sorceries, this is going to be a lot of cast triggers on Saheeli. And while we're talking about overload, how about Dragon Shift, an instant for 3 that overloads for 7. Until end of turn, target creature you control becomes a 4/4 blue and red dragon, loses all abilities and gains flying. This turns your army of little innocent 1/1s into big flying dragons. If you want to support the only channel making consistent Oathbreaker content, hit that like button, and you can even subscribe for more. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.